Okay, I think this is streaming live. They say it's telling me two different things before I get started. Okay, amazing. I'm going to keep that up so I can see any different comments that come up. And if you're joining me on Instagram, they say it's telling me. Do I need to mute that? If you're joining me on Instagram, definitely pop any questions you have. All right. Hello. Joining me. Okay, turning that off. First time streaming. Okay, amazing. Hello. Hi, everyone. This is my new segment that I am doing. It is Call with JP Wednesdays, where basically I'm going to be hopping on Zoom. You can come join me live on Zoom. You also have the opportunity to submit questions as well. All of the details for that is in the show notes below. For all of you that are watching there on YouTube, for anyone that is watching live here on Instagram, you can get that in my link in bio. You can just DM me. But yes, you will get a chance to submit questions. And over the weeks, I'm going to go through the different questions, answer them. I'm going to speak about a topic. I got a question yesterday. No, this isn't like get on Zoom and I do a Q&A. If you want that type of support, definitely come and join up my mastermind, WoMastery Mastermind. But this is more, I just wanted to give more space to show the type of coaching I do and to share the things, the conversations that I have with my clients. I definitely operate at my best as a business owner, a coach, and a mentor when I'm speaking in long form. So today I'm going to speak about more around the subconscious mind, why it feels like it's betraying us. And this really stems from a lot of my creativity. You'll learn if you've never watched any of my things, if you haven't listened to my podcast, a lot of my, not creativity, but ideas of what I want to share with the collective come from my clients. And so this is what I'm going to really draw from the conversations that I had yesterday in my client calls around why can change, in particular my mastermind calls, why can change feel so hard? Or why can it feel like this constant uphill struggle? Why does it feel like no matter what we do, we may have these big goals? And let me know, wherever you're watching, let me know if every time you go to work towards a goal, you always find yourself procrastinating, or you find yourself feeling super overwhelmed or super anxious. You find yourself completely like at this stall, like you're stalled in what you were trying to do. And it's like, I know that all of you that are watching here, whether it's live or whether you're watching the replay, I know for a fact you're watching, you're a high achiever. You're a busy high achiever. You also are very ambitious. This is why you're a high achiever. You have big goals. You have big sights on success. And remember, success means different things for different people. And I just want you to think about all the things you're trying to work towards that maybe you are just like, it just feels so heavy and hard and like so much resistance. And then you start questioning yourself because you think, is this really what I want to do? Is this really what I want to work on? Is this really the thing that I'm envisioning myself to do? Is this really the thing that I should be doing? Right? Because then we start having questioning, like, is this right? Is this wrong? The first thing I want to say is like, there's no right, there's no wrong, there's nothing. It's what you perceive as right or wrong. But I'm going to share something that was, I put on my Instagram story and I was like, I'm definitely going to share this in longer version. So a few years ago, more than a few years ago, I was fresh out of uni. I decided I wanted to do my certs to become a personal trainer. I did my certs. And then as I was making that transition, I was training some PT clients at a park at this time, but I was also a pharmacy assistant. Now, during this time, I didn't have any real big expenses or anything like that, but I was addicted to buying activewear. I was addicted to buying activewear. I lived by myself at this time. I lived by myself for 2.5, 3 years, which, by the way, side note, if you ever have the opportunity to live by yourself, I highly recommend. I think it was one of the best character building things I could have done for my 20s, if I'm completely honest. So anyway, I was addicted to buying activewear. And I was, by the way, for those of you that are joining me here live on YouTube, if I keep looking this way, it's because I'm also live on Instagram. I had a room, like I lived in a 3 by 2, a small 3 by 2 house, but one of my rooms was full. I wish like on live I could put up a picture. It was full of, you know how you buy I've like lost the word, but you buy the extra like where you hang clothes off. What is it called? Anyway, I had those like everywhere in the room. It looked like a fashion room of activewear. I had so many shoes. Every pay I would go, I'd spend hundreds. Like I'm not talking like $100 on a new top, like hundreds every single pay. And then I would be in the cycle of complaining. Like, I have no money, I have no savings, or I can't afford this, I can't afford that. I'd get really stressed when, this is a period of time I was going out clubbing quite a lot, drinking, like binge drinking a lot. And I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so stressed about money and I'm living paycheck to pay, all of that type of language. But yeah, every single pay, I would justify buying brand new activewear. I would justify actually spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And then I would like sit and I'd be like, why don't I have any savings? Or why am I so stressed about money? Or like, can I even afford like my next bill, electricity bill that's going to go out? Can I even afford my rent that's coming out this week? Like, these are the thoughts that I would have. And so I wanted to give this context because that's going to link directly to what we're speaking about today. And of course, if you're watching live, any questions, let me know. But one of the things that we often overlook, and I discussed this with my clients last night, is what we actually value in life. And I know this may seem like a very obvious thing, but it's not. I want you to look at values very differently. I didn't actually value saving my money and having it like whatever I thought saving was, or the amount that I thought that I had to have in my bank account. I didn't value that. Do you know what I valued? I valued buying the activewear because of what it made me feel, or the status I felt I had, or putting it on and always like getting admired, kind of like that ego boost, that validation, because I always had the latest activewear. I always had the nicest activewear. And so for me at that point in time in my 20s, one of my highest values was actually spending money, because I was always in the gym, and like I eventually was going to move into full-time personal training and working in the fitness industry. But I valued that. I valued those looks. I valued the status I got from that. I valued the validation. That's a huge conflict with wanting to save money, because I did not value that at all. It wasn't like a top priority for me. And even though a lot of people will be like, shouldn't that be like a top? There is no shouldn't. It's whatever you are driven, whatever you are subconsciously programmed in to value or learn, that you have learned from childhood, over the years, from past experiences, from past relationships, that is what you are going to create the values out of. And because that I had developed the value in the valid, like I, as a woman and growing up, teenager and then getting into my 20s, like I valued being liked by people. I valued being loved and having the external validation and feeling good. And, there was this whole culture. I know it's still around now, but back then, if anyone remembers, like Tumblr, like being that Tumblr girl, like looking really good and the thigh gap, and just relating this to my example, all of that. And so that's actually what I valued. And so any time that my conscious brain would be like, okay, shouldn't we save money today at this page? Shouldn't we put money in our bank account? The part of me that was so rooted and programmed in, no, you actually value being loved and validated more. You actually valued being liked by your peers more. You actually value being validated by what people say about your appearance, because that's how you functioned for the past couple of years. This is how you function as a woman and now in her 20s. Does that make sense? So linking back to what I was saying at the start of this is, whatever we put this value in and whatever we are rooted in our programming, that is what we are going to attract and bring in. So if we relate it to any of your situations, and maybe I'll give an example from one of my clients. She is in this in between of like figuring out, do I want to start a business? Do I want to go into a different career? Like, what is the thing I actually want to do? And she finds that every time she wants to work towards something, that she procrastinates. She goes and she busies herself, right? Be very mindful of this if you're trying to work towards something and you find yourself like doing the laundry, or like instead of actually creating the content for your business, you find yourself like writing a list of things to do instead. And then because that's a dopamine hit, you're like, oh, I've been accomplished. No, so my client found that every time she was working towards wanting to start her own business and do something towards that, she was procrastinating. And then she'd go into this cycle of feeling very, very shameful. She'd start feeling very disappointed in herself. She'd start to feel very resentful in herself because she's like, well, I don't want to have a boss. I want to have my own business. I want to have this freedom. But every time I try and work towards something, I just find myself procrastinating. I find myself self-sabotaging. And then I shame myself and I judge myself. And what she wanted to do is start this health and fitness business. And so she was putting the value in and trying to say to herself consciously that she wanted to do the health and fitness because she wanted to help people and she loves her health and fitness, which, by the way, side note, just because you like or love something or you like the idea of something does not mean that you have a value in it. Just keep that in mind. I think a lot of people, we can speak a little bit more about that, but I think a lot of people think if I like the idea of this or I like this thing, that means I value it. That's not normally the case. So anyway, she wanted to start this health and fitness business because she was like, I love health and fitness. She always is in the gym. She's so fascinated by nutrition and women's health and being that. And she said, but I love that. I love that those things. I love speaking about it. I love sharing information. So why am I not motivated? I use the word motivated. All of my clients know this, like very loosely, like for lack of a better word, because yeah, motivation, not a real thing. Another topic. But she was like, why can't I, for lack of a better word, like get motivated to do this? Why do I keep procrastinating? And I said, because you actually don't have a value in teaching people about the health and fitness side. You don't add, that's not like your value that is driving you. That's not the purpose. That's not the why. It's not important enough. Your program isn't rooted in this is so important that I'm going to keep doing this. And so after speaking a bit, we figured out that her actually value is to have an online business that creates the freedom. So eventually when she does become a mum, she has the freedom to be with her baby and her kid. See how that's like two completely different drivers? And the moment we kind of spoke about this and uncovered this, it's like this new zest inside of her, this new energetic, like, oh, yes, I do want to work on this. I do want to take the action. I do want to create this content. I do want to set these systems up. It's because she's found this, like, that's my actual, like, why. If we want to simplify everything, it's like the why, but it's also the programming behind it. We'll go into that a little bit. But that's kind of the first thing that I want to say is like, actually look at what is your motive behind what you're doing. If you find yourself up against so much resistance and it feels like, yeah, it's just an uphill grind, it does not mean a disclaimer. It does not mean that what you want to work towards is never going to feel hard. It's brand new, of course it will. And it doesn't mean that you should not practice discipline and focus always, discipline and focus always. But when it's like you're trying something and you keep coming up with these like speed humps, or it's like, I'll say a funny story I shared with my clients. I had a conversation with a lady at a studio, I don't know, 2 months ago, start of December. And she was like, I want to start a new Instagram for my business. And this was start of December. Then it gets to end of January. So that's quite literally 2 months. And she was still contemplating choosing between two names, but she hadn't even made the Instagram. For 2 months, she's sitting on two names. That to me is like there's not enough drive there. There's not enough motive there. There's like your programming and your value, like your programming towards your value and your mindset is just it's not important enough for you. And so start to think about, when you have these big mountains of resistance, when you are like, maybe you're someone, you're like, I know I need the support and accountability, or I need the structure, or I need the framework, or I need the concepts, I need something to help me. What I want you to think about is like, if you are wanting to like invest in whether it's a coach or a mentor or a course or a program, education, a new skill, and do you use like, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough energy, like start to actually ask yourself, like, where is that coming from? It's always coming from this fear of something's about to change and I don't have control in it. Right. I'm just giving you like different perspectives today to try understand. And this is kind of what like these calls will be, is different perspectives for you to understand yourself better. That is always the goal. And then from there, it's like thinking about how you actually program. An analogy that I give time and time again is if you had a MacBook and the MacBook was programmed for a graphic designer, right? A graphic designer had this MacBook laptop. If you gave that laptop to an engineer and it's everything, like all of the programming, all of the apps on it, they were only for graphic designers, and you gave it to an engineer and you said, go and do your job. The engineer is going to open that laptop and it's going to be, the engineer is going to be like, I actually, I can't do anything with this. I need an engineering laptop. And this is exactly what identity and subconscious reprogramming work is. And like, this is like phase 1 and phase 2 of my mastermind. You cannot operate how you are in the same body with the old programming. You absolutely cannot. It may work for a while. And in fact, I'll share one of my concepts that you learn in phase 2 of my WoMastery Mastermind. It's the upside down why framework. So a lot of people think you go from an old identity into a new identity. And you kind of like just make this like seamless transition, or like can be a little bit bumpy. You don't, in fact, right? That's like the absolute best case scenario, but I haven't seen that. I've coached hundreds of women by this point. Like I've been mentoring women for nearly a decade now. It doesn't happen seamlessly like that. And this is where I came up with this concept, this framework, is because you always go from the old identity and you shift down here. It's upside down Y. In here is the in-between identity. And then from there, you can move in to the brand new identity. Most women, men, whoever is watching this, but obviously my target audience is women, most of you are staying in this in-between for most of your life. You kind of feel like you're seeing changes, you're doing things differently, maybe you're feeling a little bit differently, yet, and so you're in the halfway of like a new identity, yet you are feeling like you're still repeating the same negative self-talk, the same patterns of behavior. You look at your week as a whole and you think it's like on this autopilot. You think you're like on the hamster wheel. Like right now, this is you. If you feel like you're just going through the motions of life, right? And this is also what I call I'm giving you so many like coaching nuggets today, but you may feel like you are in a good autopilot. And what I explain to my clients is a good autopilot is actually when things are on autopilot, but it's not like bad. It's just like life is just going. Maybe you're in an alright job, you're paying the bills, you see your friends on the weekend, maybe you're having sex a few times a week with your partner, and you get to eat out once a fortnight. Like life isn't bad, but it's still on autopilot, still going through the motions. That's just another symptom of you're in this in-between identity. So going back to my original analogy of the laptop, it's like if you are trying to become someone different, but you have the old programming, you're in this in between and you're never going to be able to move forward. And so a lot of people, and this is why I give you the values talk and the programming, they need to happen together. But you also need to shift what your values are. You need to shift the importance of what it means into your life. You've been trying to lose weight for the past 3 years and you always fail at the gym, use that word loosely, fail at the gym. You can never stick to your diet plan. You don't value that. It's not in your programming. It's not in your current identity. Like you quite literally, yes, you need to change what you're doing, like everyday 3D physical reality things, but inside your body, like your nervous system. And phase 3 of the mastermind is about nervous system regulation. But you actually need to change that. You need to change how you're feeling and operating and continuing every single day. Because if you're just waking up and going through the motions, but you're expecting that your business is going to take off, or you're going to go viral, or you're going to get that asked to get promoted at work, or you're going to bump into the love of your life, no, you only attract what you are actually feeling and who you are, and what you are have been continuously what's the word, you keep playing into. It's like if you're like playing another analogy. I love analogies. I think it's like so easy to visualize things. It's like if you play a video game and instead of every time it's like fight this boss so you can get to the next level, it's like every time you get to that, it's like, no, I'm just gonna like do the same thing. and you're on the same level over and over again. Maybe there's a few different like challenges. Maybe you go a different pathway, like whatever like game has come into mind now. Think of that. Maybe you wear a different outfit, but you're actually not doing the things that are going to get you over into the next level. So what I want you to think about the next time you're finding yourself really, really struggling to make a change, you're procrastinating, you feel like you're going through the motions, you feel like, okay, I am just, maybe you're struggling to work out like, what do I actually value if I can't, if I'm not working towards this? What do I actually like want from this? And that I can't answer that for you right now. You know, these are the type of frameworks and discussions we have inside of my mastermind. So definitely, if you're watching this as well, like, and you're like, I need the support in this, apply for the mastermind. All the details in the show notes below, my Instagram, you can get all of that in the link in bio. But I really want you just to have some self-reflection about your actual circumstances, your thoughts to that, your feelings, your actions, the results that you're getting, and what's the cycle it's on. There's two types of awareness. Self-awareness, you understand, you know, everyone's like, I'm self-aware, I'm self-aware. It's okay, but you really want to tap into conscious awareness. Self-awareness is like, I know that I know that I keep fighting with my partner and we need to do better. The conscious awareness is, I know I keep arguing with my partner because this is rooted in the fact that I always saw my mum yell at my dad to get what she wanted. And unless I do that, I am not going to get what I want, or I'm not going to feel safe, or I'm not going to be able to predict the outcome because it's unfamiliar. Right. And obviously, you know, that's just one example. That's like a kind of like a big example. This takes time, this takes self-reflection. It's kind of what we go through in the first phase in my mastermind. But if it's anything you should be working at and anything you should be consuming yourself, is like, how can I start to change my programming? What are the things that I can be doing? And it comes down to how you're speaking to yourself. Some of you are going to listen to this and you're going to think these are such simple answers. It's the easiest thing ever, but you're not going to do them. And this is why most people don't actually change and they don't sustain change. The amount of people that I see on Instagram that come and work with me that have a bit of a following, and you know, the amount of things they post and like changing their life and the motivational content and inspiration, they come and work with me and it's like none of that has applied. They can't change, they're overwhelmed, they're burnt out, they're arguing with their partner, they're waking up every day not excited for their life, they're not seeing the money that they feel that they desire, the abundance they feel they desire. And it's because they, number one, aren't watching how they're speaking to themselves. They're not actually changing the way that they're walking and framing themselves. They're not actually questioning, why am I reacting in this way? You know, I was saying this to a client this morning. What really causes the pain and the suffering is our own reactions to what we are experiencing. And yes, our actions are based in, you know, our trauma and our past experience is always rooted in our history. But being able to have the ability to control and have the power over your reactions, how you respond, and then what you do from that is how you change. I always say to my clients, these small things are the things that are going to change you. And you know, one of my clients messaged me yesterday. She said to me, Jess, after all this work I've been doing with you, you know, over the past few months, I've gone from anxious attachment style in her relationships to secure attachment. Anxious to secure. And it doesn't come from one trick or one concept or one framework or one journal prompt, as a lot of coaches will tell you, or a lot of crap on the internet. It comes from the small things you were doing every day, and you're shifting, and then you're reflecting and being like, did that work for me? Did that not work for me? It's not about comparing to anyone else. It's like, did this work for me or not? Yes, amazing. I'm going to keep doing it until it doesn't. No? Okay, what can I shift? What can I do differently? Most people see something not working, see that every day they're living the same life and be like, oh, it's too overwhelming, or I'm not going to invest in support because you value, you know, buying activewear, you value spending $500 out drinking or buying clothes or whatever. I don't believe in, like, you know, giving up what you want in your lifestyle, but don't say you value something or you want to work towards something or you have this big goal if you're actually not going to work to work. I think it's crazy. I don't think women, I noticed this, you don't want it bad enough. In my 20s, I had all these big goals and aspirations, and I just didn't work towards them. And I didn't want it bad enough. I was so comfortable living paycheck to paycheck. I was so comfortable doing the same thing because I could predict the outcome. I was so comfortable, attracting the men that were the exact same lower vibration that I was at. We attract and magnetize exactly who we are. At the time in my 20s, I didn't think that. I was like, oh my God, all men are emotionally unavailable and all men are crap and all that type of shit. But I was so comfortable because I could predict what would happen in my relationships. I could predict what would happen every time I got paid. I could predict what could happen every time I go out binge drinking. Repeat this cycle. Change is not nice. Change is scary. Change isn't a walk in a park. Anyone or anything you read that is like, this is the best thing ever. Yeah, eventually. But at the start, it's like, you don't know. It's the unknown. You can't predict what's going to happen. But I also find that's one of the most exciting things. And, if you are watching this and this is giving you a bit of a dopamine hit and inspiring you and do change something. One of my goals, I guess you could say, but one of the things that I want to do this year, and I have been doing, is like try new things, do new things. I started running. I haven't run since I did cross country when I was 16. I started running again. I'm like upping the content I consume in the sense of like books and podcasts and how I do that, and doing small things like teaching your body different things. Even I'll give you a really good example. It actually happened this morning. There are 3 coffee shops that me and my partner go to around our area. 3 different ones we always go to. We've lived in Brisbane now like nearly 2 years. And this morning we did our walk, and as I was walking, I was like, yeah, we'll come back to the named X coffee shop. And then as I'm walking, I've seen a coffee shop that I've seen many, many times on our walks. Many, many, many times. We've walked past it. And I'm always like, oh, we should try that sometime. Try that sometime. And then I said this one, I was like, you know what? Let's actually try it. Let's do something different. Let's change our mindless walking, because we always walk this way, and let's change our path. Let's go order from a different shop. Let's feel a bit, even ordering from a new coffee shop is like your body goes, oh, where are you? What are you doing? It even felt a bit weird. I'm not going to lie. Like, you may watch this and be like, oh, you're just ordering your normal coffee. It's different. I've lived here nearly 2 years, and I've walked past this shop a million times, and I'm always like, this coffee shop, and I'm always like, we should try it. We should try it. That's what I mean in the small actions. Because guess what? This also teaches your body to trust what you are doing. And I think that's going to be a topic. I'm not going to go into that because I think I'm going to speak about this more next week on call with JP Wednesdays, is like self-trust. But what I will say is, you don't have self-trust, you don't back yourself. You don't back yourself, what do you have? And so like in the small things, if you're like, give me like a framework or a concept or like glass, I have all of that and more inside of the mastermind. I have the group support, I have the one-on-one support. But if you want to do something and start now, do things differently. Sit somewhere different when you do your morning meditation. Get up and change your morning routine. Try something different. Operate differently. Think differently. The next time you wake up and you think, oh, I have to pay that bill today, change it, even if you don't believe it. Like, I cannot reiterate this enough. Like, everyone looks for like this one secret thing that's like, here, take this and it will change everything in the next 24 hours. No, it's in the small things. One of my clients, she made $36,000 in 3 days. $36,000. She was having a hard time manifesting abundance. End of last year, we tweaked a few small things. We did a bit of identity and subconscious work. She's one of my private, but she, of course, gets access to all of the mastermind content and my framework. My mastermind framework is the WoMastery framework. So Woman Mastery. The 3 phases are subconscious reprogramming, identity shifting, and nervous system regulation. I go through this with all of my clients. And my private client, I've been doing this for nearly a year now. And she went from really, really struggling and being in this stress state about money and abundance, and she made $36,000 in 3 days. And she messaged me, again, I wish I could flash something like a message up on here. And she messaged me and she goes, this is all of the small work. This is all of the small things that we do that's created to this. And I always say, I say this on my podcast, which by the way, if you're loving this topic, go binge my podcast, the Jessica Pinili podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, definitely hit the subscribe button. But I always say this is like, my clients I see surpass me because I've obviously been learning this stuff. I've been educating myself. I've been mentoring for this stuff. And then I'm like, this WoMastery framework is something I've been working on the past 4 years, and I really solidified it at the start of this year. And I give it to my clients. And then all of a sudden, they are creating massive, huge results. And it's incredible. I love it. It's the most amazing thing. But I am going to leave this now. This is so fun. You obviously can tell, like, I'm such a talker, but I'm going to be showing up here live every single Wednesday, both on YouTube, on Zoom, here on Instagram as well. If you want to submit a question, YouTubers, if you want to submit a question, it's in the show notes below. Here on Instagram, if you want to submit a question, there's like no strings attached. You obviously can see I just love to talk. I'm a Gemini. But go to my link in my bio, sign up with Call with JP Wednesday, submit a question, and from there you are able to just put it, and I will go through the questions every single week, and I'll pick them at random, and I'll see what fits with the topic. But yeah, stay tuned for next week. I appreciate every single one of you. I'm going to end the Instagram live. Bye guys. Thank you for joining.